today we're here to talk about the different themes that we saw throughout the book, The Queen of Air and Darkness. This is one section of the book called The Once and Future King, written by T.H. White. And today I'm going to be talking about the nature of humanity that we see throughout the book and how it's ambiguous, while Lucy's going to talk about
warfare.
So to go on and fast track through it, we're just gonna go on and get into it.
An Austrian who invented a new way of life and convinced himself that he was the chap to make it work. He tried to impose his reformation by the sword and plunged the civilized world into misery and chaos. So this is a quote in the part of the book where Merlin is having a talk with King Arthur about just war and his situation. So Merlin is saying that Arthur shouldn't try to impose his ideas on other people just because he thinks those are the best ideas for humanity, overall. And he's alluding to someone who will come in the future because Merlin ages backwards. And yeah.
Picking up off of what Lucy said, basically this quotation in warfare is just T.H. White sort of trying to make this notion to his readers that just because a leader or your ruler or whoever is in power of your country or of your region says to do something doesn't mean you have to follow along with that. And I think that sort of, you can go back to multiple times in history and look at where people just blindly followed what their leaders said, and because of that their country either suffered or things just didn't turn out well. For example, with fascism, with Mussolini and a bunch of other leaders that were quite reckless with their decision making. But now to turn it over to my theme. So whenever we look at my theme of humanity, I believe that T.H. White is trying to make the claim that it's ambiguous, that humans are neither inherently bad or inherently good. We're sort of this mix of just being in the middle. We can see that really with the juxtaposition that he poses with Merlin and Morgause, and then finally this whole idea of humans being both a mix of good and bad is showcased in Arthur. So for Morgause, after she had a quote-unquote unsuccessful day with the English knights that she was meeting with, she ultimately ended up beating her sons, the Orkney brothers, because they had brought home a dead unicorn. Following up on that, she also claimed within a monologue or narrative, basically where she was just talking and thinking to herself, that her sons were, once again, imbeciles. And whenever we look at that all together, we see how she's violent and she has very hurtful words to say about her son, which leads us to the conclusion that she's just a neglectful mother all in all. Furthermore, whenever we just open the book and read the first chapter, we see that she's, boiling a cat alive just for the heck of, trying out a potion that doesn't work. We can also see with just that first chapter that she's, not that good at witchcraft. She's an okay mother,
That's the best.
yeah,
mediocre.
On a very, very good day, she's a subpar mom. And because of those, little instances throughout the book where she's neglectful or just saying these harsh and vile words to her sons, we see that, maybe human nature is not all that good, or the
society that they're in develops that kind of attitude. But It could go either way.
Yeah, so either way. And then whenever we sort of go over to Merlin, we see this one quotation. So while talking to Arthur, Merlin states that a murderer is not allowed to plead that his victim was rich and oppressing him. So why should a nation be allowed to? Wrongs have to be redressed by reason, not by force. So quotations like this are scattered throughout the book whenever Merlin is talking to Arthur. These quotations are quintessential to Merlin because they show how he not only radiates positivity but also wisdom. And this positive wisdom is what makes Merlin an inherently good character. His personality is good, and it also, going back to the juxtaposition, shows how he is a good parental figure compared to Morgause, where she's just horrible. So where humanity turns out to become a mix of good and bad is in Arthur, and with Arthur we see how he becomes a quote-unquote sensible young monarch. And because of Merlin's teachings of wisdom and his experience with warfare, so that sort of, again, is the mix, because, warfare is something that nobody wants to go through. It's a necessary evil in some cases, and because Arthur finds a way to, bring wisdom to this sort of bad warfare, while he's trying to assume and really grasp his throne, shows how humans are both good and bad at times.
Along with the quote I gave earlier, in the same conversation, after Merlin gives an example of someone who imposed his ideas on the civilized world, he gives another example of someone who didn't. But the odd thing is that Jesus did not turn the disciples into stormtroopers, burn down the temple at Jerusalem, and fix the blame on Pontius Pilate. On the contrary, he made it clear that the business of a philosopher was to make ideas available and not to impose them on people. Again, you can see that Merlin is the wise old man character in giving a lot of examples and stories and just like lessons, and it's just another allusion to another figure.
I think what's really interesting about Merlin too is that he shares these tidbits about the future in a parabolic way. He's trying to teach Arthur these lessons of wisdom by using the future, which I believe really just ties the whole book together in these themes to reality, like human nature and warfare. It obviously ties the book together in a very good way because the reader is able to sort of see how these themes, especially of warfare and the nature of humanity, such as, what Lucy and I talked about, how that's evident in reality, in real life today, like in the real world. And I think that just goes to show how well T.H. White as a whole wrote the book so that the reader is able to follow along with these different themes, because despite the book being written a couple decades ago and being set in a time period a few centuries ago, the themes are still relevant. If you guys feel so inclined to go pick this book up at your local bookstore or Barnes & Noble, please do, because you too will be able to see other themes like chivalry,
love,
might versus right, familial stuff. You will be able to read it like we did and understand more of what we're talking about. That's all that we have for you guys today. Stay tuned to my channel because it's Christmas season. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening after exam season. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to drop a like or comment below if you guys have any questions or whatever. And don't forget to subscribe. And if you guys want to, Lucy is on Instagram. I'm on Instagram. I'll put her information down below.